Okay, let's talk about early writing. So early writing or emergent writing, we call it emergent writing because the ability to write is emerging. It encompasses these things: the actual physical act, the mechanics, that's making physical marks, moving your pencil, that's the mechanics. The meanings children attribute to the markings, so that's composition. And then understandings about how written language works, which is orthographic knowledge. Orthographic knowledge is knowing that letters make up words, that there are spaces between um, words, that kind of thing. So early writing is one of the best predictors of children's later reading success. So those scribbles, those shapes and letter-like things that they're doing when they're 3 years old is part of the process of learning to read. So this is all related to each other. How does early writing develop? First drawing and scribbling, then letter and letter-like forms, and then salient and beginning sounds. So those important letters that they need to know, the beginning letters of their names, or, I had kids that said M is the mommy letter, or right? And then beginning and ending sounds. Around age 1, when they have the small motor skills to pick up a pencil or a crayon or a marker, they start drawing and scribbling. In our toddler classroom, we had on the wall a piece of paper taped right at their like eye level, big piece of paper that they could just come scribble on, because that is an important step in learning to read and write, is scribbling. Okay. So when they're little and they're doing that kind of drawing and scribbling, they don't make a connection between what they're doing in speech. They are only doing it for the physical sensation, physical experience of scribbling, right? They're not intentionally drawing things or writing things. So in the earliest stages, they're drawing randomly, and if you ask them what they drew, they won't be able to tell you because they're not thinking about it the same way that you are. So children in this stage need lots of exposure to print and writing notes, modeling, right? They want to see, you want to show them how writing works and what it's for. They need opportunities to explore with writing tools, crayons, markers, fun pens, and pencils in the drawing and scribbling stage. And like I said, people who are afraid to give a toddler a marker because they might draw on something, that is detrimental to their reading development, right? So they need to be able to have opportunities to write and scribble and draw in order to make the next steps to learning to write letters and learning to read. Okay. In scribble stage 1, they're starting anywhere on the page. In scribble stage 2, they're starting to learn how to go from left to right. Preschool age, they're doing letters and letter-like forms. So what they're going to do at this point is they may not be making letters, but they may be making symbols that look like letters over and over again, because they're beginning to understand that these little forms that I see on pages have a meaning somehow, and I see them over and over again. And this is also when they start writing the first letter of their name or the first letter of the alphabet, or letters that are meaningful to them. At this stage, I think it's important, and not everyone agrees with me, but I think it's important to focus on capital letters because they are bolder and they tend to be more angular. So they're easier for children to write. There's research that goes, both ways on this, but I think that capital letters are easier for kids to write and work with first. Okay. They're learning that print carries meaning, that the things that they see on the page have meaning. So The words in a story have a meaning, but they don't get how letters represent sounds yet. It's such a fascinating process, really. So in this stage, when they're doing letters and letter-like forms, like you see here, they're making their own kinds of letters. They may not even be able to say that they're making letters. They may just be doing this without really understanding what they're doing. And then they start making letter strips, right? And then they start doing groups of letters with space in between to resemble words. So what's important at this point is that they learn to write their names, and then they be exposed to words, spaces, letters, and meanings. And that we talk about these things, that we talk about there are spaces between words. When we put a bunch of letters together, it makes a word. So we all know this stuff, but it's important for them to hear it and to understand it. In preschool and kindergarten, they're doing salient and beginning sounds. These are important sounds that they hear in words. So they're starting to do invented spelling. Beginning sounds may represent whole words, right? So a child may be writing something about a ball and they may just put the B because they know it makes the B sound. And for them, that's enough. That's all they need to know. And then in this point, they're combining knowledge of print and sound together. So they're starting to make that connection. In this stage, the salient to beginning sound stage, they are writing things like this: IWTNM. I went to the Nature Museum, right? This is representational. This is invented spelling, and they're using letters to represent words. They just don't have quite all of the details in there yet, right? In this one, they're using the beginning, middle, and end sounds that the letters represent, right? Bird, you know what that is. And then here, they're putting in the beginning, the middle sounds, the medial sounds. I like to pick flowers, right? You can see the progression that they're making, and it's fabulous. It's fantastic. So in this stage, they need positive reinforcement about they're doing a great job writing these words. You say things like, you used kindergarten spelling and you did a great job. Can I show you how an adult would write it? How I write them? How teachers write those words? They need help learning some sight words. You know, sight words are words that they just know, like they don't have to sound out. You just know: cat, top, whatever. They need to learn some letter sounds relationships based on words they already know. So right now you're talking about, I know the word bat, so I know it bat. If I put a C on there, I know C says k, so k, at, right? And then help with spacing. So knowing these letters go together to make a word, and then we have a space. Okay. Preschool through first grade, they're doing beginning and ending sounds. They can identify individual words. They consistently are writing with spaces between the words. They have a letter name strategy. So 8 is written as A-T, see, 8. And they're identifying sounds and words as they read. They might be guessing based on the beginning and ending letters. When my daughter was learning to read, she did this a lot. She would if you were reading a story about a horse and it said, like, here comes the horse, right? She would, if she knew that it was about a horse, she would just assume that here, H-E-R-E, was horse, because you could look at it and it had most of the same letters as horse. So horse comes the horse. But then they start using contextual clues and other ways to figure it out. But she would substitute in a lot of words based on their beginning or ending letter, just guessing. In this stage, they need practice identifying the medial sounds, the middle sounds of the words. They need more sight words, and they need support in developing conventional spelling. That's when you're saying, you did a great job of writing sky, S-K-I. using kindergarten spelling or first grade spelling, but teacher spelling, we do it SKY. Okay, invented spelling helps children learn because they use what they know about letters, sounds, and spelling patterns to spell words as well as they can. They're using the skills that they need to make the words. What we'll do later on is refine those skills. So invented spelling is part of the developmental process. They learn standard spelling by reading, studying words and word patterns in school, attempting to spell words on their own, and editing their attempts. It lets children process and learn the process and structure of communication and writing. Like I said, they can express themselves without getting bogged down in spelling details. You should be encouraging children to write often and be accepting and encouraging of what they're doing and scaffold them to the next level, right? So this is a grocery list written by a 4-year-old, I think. And you take a minute and guess what each of those words is, and then I'll tell you what they are. Whoops, I gotta go back. Okay, so eggs, right? You don't think eggs starts with an E, eggs, it's eggs. Milk, what's this one? It's cheese. Yeah, cheese, because it's got E's. Yeah, we don't know how to make that ch sound, so I think that's what it is. Grapes, right? And then pop. Okay. Based on invented spelling, it all makes sense. Now, here is a story by Emily, who I think is 4. And she says, my family, right? What I love about this is that kids just boil it down to the least number of letters that they need to get their point across. There's some benefit to this, right? You need to be able to already read conventional English and understand conventional writing in order to get it. But when you get it, it makes kind of a lot of sense. So, My Family by Emily. I like trees, right? I want to climb trees. Now, you think that YT, want, what sound does Y, the letter Y, start with? W, right? When you say the letter Y, it starts with W. So I want to climb trees. When you say the letter W, it doesn't start with the W. It starts with a duh. So kind of makes sense, right? I want to climb trees. Kevin likes to play soccer with David. Kevin likes to play soccer with David. Pretty close, really, for a kid, a little kid. There we go. Okay. My baby brother likes to nurse. My mom likes to play Uno. My dad likes to golf. My cousin likes to play Legos. When you look at it, it all makes sense, right? So invented spelling is important, and it's important to encourage kids to do invented spelling. Oh, okay. This is a note that a 5-year-old wrote. I will miss you. I really don't want you to leave. I love you so much, but I hope you have a great time. Some things that are really interesting in this one. I will miss you. I really, if you just heard the word, that's kind of what you think it might look like, right? Don't want, again, W, the letter, does not start with W. It doesn't have the W sound in it at all. And so this kid, like the other kid, is finding ways to make a W sound without using a W. This child knows one is a word, O-N-E. That's a sight word that the child obviously knows. So put a T on it and you have the sound pretty close to the sound want, right? I don't want you to leave. We don't have any other vowels in leave because the E makes the E sound. So we don't need to put an A or an E at the end because E says E. So if you put E between ul and v, you get leave. I love you so much, but I hope you have a great time. Hope. Okay, so this is a Q, but a Q is really close to a P. It's just they accidentally did it the wrong way. And again, same thing. O says O. So if you put it between and P, you get hope. And the same thing happens here and here, right? So this child has a method to how they write their words. And it kind of makes sense. It actually makes a lot of sense. Okay, this one's really great. This is a saga that a child wrote about a day at Central Park. All right, I'll let you read it and then I'll tell you what it says. So, I was coming home from Central Park and I told Zadie I needed to go to the bathroom. There, obviously, this is Zadie because there's a Z, and this is I, right? Okay. I was screaming. I love this one. K says K, so SK, re or E, right? Screaming bathroom, bathroom. There was no bathroom on the bus. And look at how consistent the rules are with this child. Like bathroom is always BATHROM. You don't really need that other O. There was no bathroom on the bus. They got to the bus station. See how, SH makes the sh sound, right? We got to the bus station and I went to the bathroom. I felt better. It's a good story. This is directions for making gingerbread cookies. I think this is a 4-year-old. So make the dough, shape the dough, use chocolate chips for the eyes, then make a line of icing for the mouth, then use chocolate chips for the buttons. And again, you see them using the same rules again and again. Right here, they've gotten the rule. They know the word make, right? Because you see it again here and here. They've learned that the A needs the E to make the A sound, but not here. They haven't learned that. So obviously they know the word make. They can read the word make. Use. They know the word you, Y-O-U. And again, you is another one of those words that it's kind of weird in that it says its name, but Y is more powerful in a way. I think that makes sense. Anyway, use chocolate chips for the eyes. Somehow we know I starts with E, but that's not the right sound. So if I put an I in there and put an S on the end, the I makes the I sound. So yeah, that's right, eyes. Then make a line of icing for the mouth. This is an interesting one right here. Somewhere along the line, they've learned IG makes the I sound, right? Icing for the mouth, then using again, chips for the buttons. Okay, reasons to write. You need to provide reasons to write. Kids need practice. And so you want them to sign in when they come into the classroom. You want to have list making activities. So you want to make a list of what you need for activity or party. You want kids to check off items on a list, because just having a list of things and having them check off is a reading skill, right? Notes and cards, letters that express feelings, notes home. You have them write all the time. Journal writing, write about favorite parts of the day, field trips. What you can do is have younger kids can draw pictures and then tell you what they've drawn, and then you write it down, right? And they see you writing it down. They see you making those letters. Having waiting lists in your centers, it's important too. Writing in the classroom. Okay, these are a bunch of opportunities that kids have in these classrooms for writing, interacting with letters and, experiencing, feeling them. You should have in your writing areas, all around your classroom, you should have letter cards that are accessible, that they can take down and they can put down so that they can use those to guide them to write, not just letters up on the wall that are too high up for them to really interact with. And I know that we put them up there because it's the only place in our classrooms where we have that kind of space. But make sure you have letter cards. Like, this is a letter card. It's laminated. Kids can take it down and use it to write with. Putting pens, papers, whiteboards, all kinds of stuff out for them to experience. Okay, there you go. Okay, let's talk about learning the alphabet. The alphabetic principle or code is that letters have a relationship with the sound of oral language. Letter naming is a predictor of letter naming is a predictor of later reader achievement. And you need to teach phonemic awareness with alphabet knowledge. We just talked about early writing is a predictor of later reader achievement, and letter naming is a predictor of later reader achievement. So it's important that even with toddlers, we are doing things like teaching them letters, right? And giving them chances to scribble and teaching them letter sounds. Letter knowledge is knowing that letters are different from each other and they have different names and sounds. This helps children understand that words are made of smaller parts and to know the names of those, okay? Alphabet instruction, where letter of the week can be boring and limiting. Letters are best learned in meaningful contexts. So there are a couple of articles that I've posted in Cobra about what this means. Basically, it is that it doesn't make sense to spend 1 week, to spend 26 weeks of a school year, which is usually what? 36 weeks? Yeah, about. It doesn't make sense to spend the entire year learning the alphabet. How can you do it so that it's more meaningful and it makes more sense and it takes not 26 weeks? Okay, alphabet instructions. It's okay to talk about the alphabet in an explicit way. Capital letters are easier to learn since they're easier to write. Begin with letters with strong beginning sounds, not a letter with more than one sound. For example, we want to start with letters like B, B, D, T. These are strong beginning sounds. Okay. You don't need to know all the letters and sounds to understand the principle. So we can start teaching them letter sounds and letters. You don't need to know all of them, but it's important that you learn them not over the entire school year, right? Environmental print is only useful if adults point out what they see and mediate their learning. So you can fill up your classroom with print all over the place, but unless you are specifically pointing things out and talking about it, it's not really that helpful. If you teach 2 letters at a time, you can compare and point out similarities and differences. So some teachers will pair, C and K because they both have the same sound some of the time. Some of the time they don't. Okay, learning about letters. Here we go. You can use visual recipes using words and pictures, right? So recipes that use words and pictures. So this is it, making vegetable pizza, cutting the broccoli and the tomatoes, carrots, pepper. This is words and letters together to show you how to do something. Dictated stories, books and labels. So that's when a child is dictating to you and you're writing it down. Morning message, writing down, good morning. Today we are going to learn about dinosaurs, and having that be up there and you talk about it. Poems, charts, all ways that you have letters that you are specifically and intentionally showing and talking about with children. Doing a chart activity is important, right? So this is one about holes. I guess it's, do you like holes or not? And I'm going to assume that each kid in the classroom has a magnetic letter with the first letter of their name, and they get to put it whether they like or they don't like. Now, this can be, very young kids can do this because as long as you tell them what this word is and what the question is, they can tell, yes, I do, no, I don't, right? And then they can put their letter there. They can vote. Poems. Writing poems and putting them on charts or big displays so that kids can learn those words. Like, you're going to learn butterflies from this poem if you keep reciting it and reading it. The morning message. The morning message is generally some sort of display where you've written a message and you are pointing out what you're saying, right? So these are the things that you're teaching them. We're going left to right. Return sweep, that's when you come back and you start on the line below at the beginning. Print carries a message, whatever your morning message is, they're learning that. Punctuation, like period and question mark. Good morning, exclamation point. What is your favorite cereal? Question mark, right? And then one-to-one correspondence, because as you're pointing out, good morning. What is your favorite cereal? And then spaces between words. Writing that on a big piece of paper and showing it to your kids is not a huge investment of your time, but it is a big lesson for them. Here we go. Morning message. And this is how you would do it. Good morning. I see, and then we'll count, right? How many boys, how many girls? How do you do? And you're teaching them that good morning is an exclamation point with an excited voice. How do you do is a question mark with a questioning voice. You go up at the end. Today, let's count to 5. I know you can do it. That's no jive, right? Or dear class, today is Thursday. We will read an alphabet book. Did you read this weekend? Raise your hand. Yes. These are all ways to help them understand how print works. Letters to play with, letter blocks, magnetic letters to line up on a metal cabinet or on cookie sheets. You can stick cookie sheets to the wall and put letters on them if you don't have a metal anywhere else. Beanbag letters to toss at a target, sponge letters, lacing bead letters, letter stamps, movable alphabet tiles, anything that has letters that they can manipulate and move around is very valuable.